Welcome back to Learn Economia. Today we are going to discuss the important aspect of income approach of economic development. So without wasting any more time, let's consider the details of the income approach of economic development right here itself. Coming to the aspect called income approach of economic development, it's a very important framework that would analyze the well-being of an economy or well-being of a society by considering the income generated in the economy. So that means the well-being aspect or the welfare aspect. This is being analyzed through the lens of income generation. So how much of income is generated in the economy? So this is the single question that we are asking. When we could find that more income is generated, it means more well-being. More income means more well-being as per this particular approach. Again, when it comes to lesser income being generated in the economy, that means only less well-being is there. That means the well-being is coming down. So there exists a direct relationship between the amount of income that is being generated in the economy and its impact on well-being of people in that particular economy. So this is the entire idea of income approach of economic development. So let's consider the details of the same. So the core idea is the connection that you can establish between a nation's prosperity, economic prosperity, basically, and the income of its people. So what happens when income increases? When income increases, I told you that welfare increases. How that this happened? So when income increases, definitely growth happens, and more growth will be leading to more development, and this more development would lead to more well-being. So this is how the entire process works. And higher income, as I was telling you earlier, will lead to higher growth, higher development, and it will thus further lead to higher well-being and vice versa. So this is a basic idea that we are considering under the income approach of economic development. Now, what are the features? When you look onto this particular approach of economic development, you could find that we are measuring GDP. So what is GDP? Gross domestic product. So we are measuring GDP when we go for income approach of economic development. And in this case, what happens is that we will be summing up all the income that has been earned by the factors. So we do have 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital, and organization or entrepreneurship. So we are considering the factor remunerations which are being given to land, that is rent, labor, that is wage. For capital also you will be giving is remuneration. For organization or entrepreneurship also there will be its remuneration. So let me write it over here. Land, it's rent. Labor, it's wage. Capital, it's interest. That is the remuneration that you pay to capital. And for organization, there is profit. Now, it's a development analysis. the income approach to economic development, it's been a development analysis. That is, we will consider the changes that come through income. So we could find that we are considering the factor remunerations or the factor incomes earned by land, labor, capital, and organization. And then we will be summing up the entire factor remunerations to get the GDP. And when we get this figure for a particular year, what happens is that it is something that shows the way in which the economy's development is happening at that particular year. But when you have GDPs given over a particular period of time or over a specific duration of time, for example, if we are having a time series data, time series data means the data is available, data of GDP is available over a period of time. If that is happening, what you can do is that you can track the changes that have been happening. So if you have this year's data and previous year's data, that means you can go for a comparison and you could find whether there is any change happening between the previous year and this year, and also you could find that if there is a change, whether it's an increase or decrease. So in that case, you can gauge the economic progress. If there is an increase, like when you compare the GDP of the previous year and this year, and in that comparison, if we could find that compared to previous year, present year is showing a bit more increase in GDP, in that case, definitely it's been a progress, right? So this kind of an interpretation is something that you could make when you have GDP. This is again yet another aspect that come in the case of economic development. And if at all you could find that progress is not happening, instead you're moving down compared to the previous year, in that case what you have to do is that you have to consider the requirement to have government intervention so as to revive the economy, so as to ensure that the economy is coming down. So that will happen with more number of policies, programs, and so on. And again, it is something that considers people well-being and welfare. Definitely, in that case, it focuses on people, but you need to understand something extra. So definitely, increased income as per this income approach of economic development is something that has been getting transformed to the better living standards of people. Definitely that will happen. Also, we need to understand that there have been many problems associated with this particular approach. So we will see the details of that. So just first of all, understand the features of this particular approach, and then we will move on to see the different problems associated with this approach. Now, what are the advantages of this approach? You could find that this is something that focuses on the income generation. So how GDP is being generated. So such kind of an analysis is being made here. So it's very simple, it's being objective because it's all about a numerical measure. It's all in terms of a number that we are moving for comparison, right? So we are comparing different periods of time just on the basis of a single number. So it's objective as well. It is a quantifiable measure. So in that case, it's very easy to do. Comparison is very easy. And also, by using this number or such kind of numbers, policy applications can also be made. So government can go for taxation or social programs or job creation initiatives by looking on to this specific number. This specific number will indicate the present status or scenario of the economy. If this number is low, that means the government requires to intervene with social programs, job creation initiatives and all, so that we will be having more production, consumption, and investment happening in the economy so as to have more income generation and more welfare and well-being in the future. So that's it, and vice versa. Now, what are the disadvantages here? So when you just focus on to the income approach of measuring economic development, we are just focusing on a numerical figure, as I was telling you earlier. So this is only something that deals with the generation of GDP, the generation of income. But it does not does not consider something called income distribution. So once the income is being generated, it has to be distributed to various category of people. Since it is not considering something called income distribution, the way in which income is being distributed among different communities or categories, what happens is that a nation might be having a good income. So the national income might be something good. This might be leading to a situation of inequality in income distribution. How? So this national income, this increased national income might be divided between rich and poor, and the rich would be having more income. So that's why these people are rich. And when it comes to poor, these people will be getting only less income, and that's why they become poor forever. So when we just focus on to this income approach of economic development, this will increase forever. So there cannot be any way out from income inequality. It will persist and it will continue forever. And also, when we just focus on to this numerical aspect of GDP or income, what happens is that we just omit or we just ignore deliberately certain important aspects of economic development, because income is not the only one parameter that we should have for economic development. This is only one numerical figure, right? And with this income alone, you cannot attain development. For development, along with income, there should be many other things. There should be quality of life, and how can this quality of life quality of life can be increased with more education, more healthcare, more eco-friendly practices, less pollution, less traffic, and so on. So all such aspects should also be included into the measurement of economic development, and then only economic development's measurement will be complete. So that means a problem with GDP or problem with income approach of economic development, it's an incomplete measure. Because it's just focused on income, it doesn't consider any other aspects of economic development. So other aspects here we have to consider is that when we just look onto this national income calculation, it will just take the sum total of wages, profit, rent, and interest. So what are all these called? These are factor incomes, the compensation that we give to each factor of production. So factor incomes. And what is the problem with this? When we consider this factor income, you might not be able to derive this factor income, especially when we consider informal economy. Just consider some subsistence farming. You can also consider something called self-employment. So in these cases, what happens is that if a person is actually, just think about a factory owner, and this person is having his own land and factory is constructed in that particular land itself. So in that case, what happens to rent? This person is not requiring to pay rent to any other persons. So that means there are certain self-employment aspects that makes the things complicated. So these are again some other limitations that you will be having in GDP calculation. You might say that, okay, we can go for some estimated measures, but this estimation itself might be causing some complications. Again, when you consider this income approach to economic development, we need to understand that there have been several other aspects which are beyond GDP. So just having this number won't be capturing the entire requirement of development or the entire aspect of economic development that is happening at present. We do have certain other kind of aspects like what we have already considered, and for the very same reason, there have been many new developments have come. As a result of these new developments, we could have more updated version of methods that calculates and captures economic development. For example, HDI, Human Development Index. Human Development Index takes into consideration various other aspects of development. Again, you do have capability approach given by Amartya Sen. So Amartya Sen's capability approach also takes into consideration the ability aspect of a person when it goes for economic development. So a society consists of several people, and when you have several number of people in the society, each person will be having different capability or ability to carry out certain tasks. So in that case, you should take such elements too into consideration. So this all will be again considered as something much beyond what is called the usual conventional traditional method of national income calculation or GDP calculation. Again, when you consider the Human Development Index, it's a composite index that consists of three important components, which takes knowledge, longevity, standard of living, and so on. So, which again is something more than the usual conventional measure of national income calculation. So, in conclusion, we could find that definitely this income-based approach, this is a valuable tool in order to understand economic growth and development. But if you want a holistic understanding regarding the income distribution aspect of economic development, definitely we have to consider something extra. So that is what is actually demanding some alternative frameworks to look on to economic development. And that is why our policymakers, our economists, they are framing new methods now to look on to more enriched way of capturing economic development. So that's it for today. You can download Learn Oikonomia app, which this will be giving you previous year question papers and answers, free study materials, live as well as recorded classes, as well as free MCQ based weekly tests. So what you have to do is you can click on to the link that I'll be giving in the description box. And also you can join our free Telegram community. I'll also provide the link of the same in the description box. Also, you can like, share as well as subscribe to this channel for more videos. That's it. Thank you for watching.